Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And in this episode, I have someone who is the CEO and co-founder of Invest to Give, as well as the author of our #1 Amazon best-selling ebook. Laquore Meadows, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here.
Pleasure to have you here as well, Laquore. Pleasure to have you here. And you've got an amazing story to tell, and I like to inspire my guests with all of this. It'd be great if you could tell them your story. If you could tell us about your journey from poverty to Ph.D. to stock trader.
Yes, absolutely. Well, once again, just thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and to connect with your audience today. My name, as you mentioned earlier, is Dr. Laquore Meadows, and I have had quite the journey. I grew up in a home that was full of love, hugs, and kisses, but unfortunately, we did not have a lot of means. So one of the things, however, that was really important to who I consider to be my shero, which is my grandmother, was the importance of acquiring an education. And so with that, one of the individuals who I grew up really looking up to is Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And one of the things that she really inspired in me was just being in a position where I could help other people and educate other people about just their life, right? And so one of those big things ultimately became the stock market. So let me tell you a little bit about how I first initially became interested in the stock market. Was because of a gift that I received from, and not me personally, but the organization that I led received from a generous woman. She donated $5.3 million in order to, right, which is a lot of money, right? In order to build a building on a campus that I worked at. And so I was so inspired by the gift that she offered that I was completely just blown away and decided that it was important for me as well to be able to build and to leave a legacy that would be the answer to someone's prayers. But going back to my background, I really didn't know how to do that, right? I had no idea, didn't understand money and so forth. But I learned that she accumulated a lot of her wealth in the stock market. And so from there, I began to really put myself into spaces and places that were really unknown to me, sought to learn everything I possibly could. And in the process, I completely fell in love with the stock market. And so from there, I began making money in the stock market, but then also had an aspiration to teach others, going back to that inspiration from my grandmother, as well as Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, in order to help others truly live the life that they desire to live. And so that's where I am today. So that's a quick story, but there's much more to it, but that's kind of the short path.
Right. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. Well, normally my show lasts longer than a few minutes, but we don't mind. So, how do people find out more about your story? Because this is a show about overcoming obstacles. We don't really do finance or stock exchange or anything, so the audience might not look at that. Although, you know, if they've got financial difficulties, it's fair enough. You know, we could either elaborate more on your story so we can inspire our guests because they want tips of how to overcome these things. Or we could just move on to your book and what you're doing now and tell them what you're doing now.
Okay, so your question was how about obstacles that I faced, or
most of our audience wants to learn about how to, you know, the inspiring how to overcome these issues and get on in life. And obviously you made it to get a PhD, you know, how did you do all that? How did you manage to do all that, you know, and build a you know, empire that, you know, that you've got now?
Yes, absolutely. So I give all my credit to the University of Cincinnati Upward Bound program, honestly,
Right.
because I grew up in an environment that was pretty much ridden with crime and poverty and all of the things.
Yeah.
It was important to my mother to make sure that I had an opportunity to step outside of that environment in order to see other things in the world. And so the University of Cincinnati Upward Bound program, fortunately, was that place for me. Starting in the 8th grade, I attended Wright State University's Upward Bound program and then transitioning in the 9th grade over to the University of Cincinnati. And so within that program, it's tailored for young people who either are first generation college students or come from a lower income background. And so with that, they provided us with education to prepare for the next academic year, but they also took us on so many different like trips and things in order to expose us to things that we ordinarily just didn't have access to. I think another big component of that helped me tremendously to really begin understanding the process of negotiating with people was the fact that we spent the summers on college campuses. And for me, it was the University of Cincinnati. And that enabled me as an only child to have an opportunity to connect with other individuals and really begin to navigate my way. And also to understand what the collegiate environment looked and felt like as well. So with that, I was able to go to college at Tennessee State University for undergraduate school. Had a bit of a challenge my first year because I was fresh out of the house and wanted to party and do all the things. So came really close to actually losing my scholarship. Unfortunately, I was in the honors program. But my mom said, if you lose your scholarship, you're coming back home. And I said, not going to happen. So ended up going back to school and did really well for the rest of the time there. So that was the beginning of my post high school education journey. Then decided to go to Miami University, and that's where I received my master's degree. But that location of university was probably the turning point in my career because I faced the most obstacles there, honestly. As a person of color, yes, as a person of color, Miami University, while it's an excellent school, it just was not the place that I was accustomed to. So coming from a historically Black college, going to a predominantly white school, it was a challenge. It really was. Lots of microaggressions, lots of things that just came into play during that time. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to serve in the Office of Admissions. So I was responsible for helping young people come to Miami University. And that's what really demonstrated to me my Blackness, if you will. and so during that experience, I learned a lot, but also grew a lot in that process as well. So it was a really interesting experience, but one that I don't regret by any means because it helped me to become the person that I am today. After that, I decided I wanted to go work back into an HBCU environment. So I worked at Central State University that posed its own set of challenges as well. Yes, it's another historically Black college. They had, some challenges there, but, worked to overcome that as well. And then ultimately went and got my doctorate degree from Ohio University. So, so that was working full time, getting a degree full time was another situation I had to pursue through. But again, going back to my grandmother, I just absolutely adore her. She always was encouraging to me about just the importance of acquiring an education. So I had her words, although she was gone at the time, I had her words in the back of my mind that was the one thing that no one could take away from you was your education. So I just decided to go full force and pursue it wholeheartedly. And so that's where I ended by getting my doctorate degree.
Fantastic. So you make this journey from poverty to PhD, and you could look back on it and think, wow, I mean, what was it like doing your PhD at the time? Coming from a different background, did you feel any different, or it felt like you belonged, or I mean, how was it?
I absolutely did not feel like I belonged at all.
Yeah. It's
At all.
amazing, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And I think it goes back to one being a female, but then also
Okay.
being
Was it male dominated? Was it?
It was, yes,
Okay.
yes. My cohort was definitely male dominated.
What did you do the PhD in?
It was in higher education administration.
Okay.
Yes, which is not necessarily a fully male dominated field. There are definitely, women there, but in my particular cohort that year, it was definitely mostly Caucasian males. And and then also another aspect of it is that a lot of the individuals were older than me. I was young, a young student pursuing a PhD. And so I felt like I didn't necessarily have the experience that everyone else had. So that made me feel a bit like an imposter as well. So I had to navigate through that. I had to find my place. I had to learn how to overcome those limiting beliefs and those doubts in order to move forward with what I had set to accomplish. And so while it was challenging, I was working full time at the time and traveling back and forth to Ohio University for school. It was just important enough for me to be able to accomplish that respective goal. And so I pushed forward, and actually I was the first female out of my cohort to actually graduate, which was awesome. So I was very proud of that accomplishment.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And how was it when you was doing the PhD, starting to finish it? I mean, what was you looking forward to after the PhD?
So I had an aspiration to become a university president. That was my goal at the time. Yes. And so I knew that would be quite a journey. However, I didn't have any interest in taking the traditional route, which was actually the faculty route. So, because I didn't want to go through the process of acquiring tenure. It was just crazy to me. After doing all that work, I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this anymore. So with that said, I decided to go through the administration route, which actually, definitely served into my favor. Had an opportunity to become an American Council on Education Fellow, which was phenomenal. And decided at that stage, I don't think I really want to do this anymore as far as being president. And during that time is the same time when I was in conversation with the multimillionaire who donated the money, and I learned, about the things that she did and so forth. And so that's when my aspiration and my interest in the stock market really began to grow.
Yeah, fantastic. So now that's the route you started looking at, because obviously you was inspired by the multimillionaire who had that background. Is that what you're saying? And you thought,
yes,
let me look at this person who helped me out and inspired me and is a role model to me. That's what I want to do. And that can happen. And people listen to the show or listen to you now and say, yeah, I want to do that. That's the idea of the show, you see. So tell us that journey now. Now it's turned around from PhD to stock, the stock market. Tell us about that journey.
Yes, absolutely. So it's an interesting one because none of the degrees on my wall suggest that I should be a stock trader.
Yeah. But I mean, a degree is a degree. Yes. You can go any path you want with that. It's like that, isn't it? Interchangeable these days.
Absolutely. Yes. So a bit of the journey. So after she decided to give the gift, and I will say she did not blink in the process.
Okay. That one who sponsored you, the multimillionaire. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
She did not blink in the process. So I was so inspired by that. And I recognized that, she has 5.3 million to offer to us, and she's got much more than that. Right. And so I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. And I also recognized that at the time, while I was greatly appreciative of my job, just my 9 to 5 was not going to enable me to get there. And so that's what was the inspiration for me to really begin to dig deep and learn everything I possibly could about the markets and about how does this work and how do I not only understand the stock market, but how do I understand money? Right?
Yeah.
How do I understand money in general? And really reframe my thinking about the use of it. And so with that said, I just went on this quest and learned everything I could. I took courses, hired coaches, read books, watched YouTube videos, you name it, all in. And so from there, that's when just completely fell in love with the process, fell in love with the global connections that exist with the stock market, and just went full steam ahead. And so from there, began to make good money in the market, began to trade both stocks as well as options, began to do some more long-term investing.
So what kind of trading was you doing? Stocks and shares only, was you, or Forex, or?
Just publicly traded companies. So yes. So I don't trade Forex, or I have cryptocurrency, but my really true passion is around the stock market.
It's always going to be there, isn't it? The stock market as well. So
yes.
I mean, some people do property, some people. So I know crypto is huge at the moment. So we don't know. I mean, it looks like it's the future, but the stock market's always going to be there as well. It's just, maybe maybe businesses will deal more with crypto than fiat, that kind of thing, or a bit of both, so.
Absolutely. NFTs are also really popular now as well. So it's a whole nother aspect, to
very interesting. Very interesting. So how did it evolve then, that you've gone into this business, that you've become very successful and obviously written a book as well? Tell us how that evolved into this big success. What's going on there?
So I had to overcome limiting beliefs. That was the biggest thing. For a long time, I held myself back because, very similar to when I was going through my doctorate program, I felt like I was an imposter. And that really came from not seeing a lot of people who shared my reflection in this space. It came from a sense of feeling like I was brand new, so didn't know enough in this space. I felt it came from being in the midst of people who were that I considered to be doing extremely well in the space. And I'm like, I'm doing well, but not quite as well as them, So it was just like a lot of different things were floating around my mind as to what held me back initially. But I had to recognize that although I wasn't at the level where I was looking at these other people, I still was so far away from the people who I aspired to help. And so I recognized that, okay, if you're 2 steps in front, you can still reach back and help people and bring them along with you. And so once I got to that, I was like, wow, okay, all right, there are a lot of people out here who don't understand this. So how can I help bring them along? And so that's what helped me. Once I began to think differently, that's what helped me to take it to the next level. And then Yep. And so another thing that really helped me to really silence some of those limiting beliefs is I became very intentional about putting myself in places and spaces with people who thought bigger, deeper, and stronger than I did. And once I did that, that's when my whole mindset about life changed. That's when I decided that there's an initiative that I'm actually working on right now called Stocks and Soul Wars. And I held on to that for over a year because I was scared. I was scared about what people would think. But once I started getting into environments with people who thought deeper and stronger and better than I did, that's when I began to say, all right, you got to get out of your head because something that can help others. And so you're being selfish, Laquore, by holding it to yourself. So
yeah. That's great. That's great stuff. So tell us about writing this book now. You're but #1 best-selling Amazon author. How did that spark the idea, and how did that come about to get to publishing, from idea to publishing?
Absolutely. So I recognized that I had this aspiration to help just and serve as many people as I could. But I also came to a realization that that's impossible. You cannot, you can't stretch
Not one
yourself
by
so
one, not one by one.
right. Exactly. You can't stretch yourself so thin that you just can't. You can't because you have to be healthy yourself. And so with that, I began to really think about, okay, so how can I create a resource outside of the pre-recorded classes and so forth that I already had that could be of service to people who were just getting started and kind of afraid, if you will, of the market. And so with that, I decided, all right, well, let me see if I can put together a resource, something I could just give away as a freebie, right? To help them. And so I started out by creating a small PDF. And from there, I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn this into a book. And so kept writing. And I was very intentional about creating it in a conversational tone so that it could feel like I'm walking alongside you on this journey. And it's not too overly complicated, lots of jargon, things like that. But I really wanted to make it simple and plain so that those who had an interest but was scared because of the terminology or scared because, I'm going to lose my money or whatever that reason may be, that they found this space and resource that they can use to really help them to take that first or the next step. And so began writing the book, and that was a process. That was a whole process. But writing a book and ultimately got it published and put it on Amazon. And fortunately, there was enough interest in it that it became a #1 bestseller. So super excited about that. It has 5 stars to this day. So super excited about just the opportunity to be of service.
Wow, that's great. That's fantastic. Well, so you're obviously a published author and successful at that. You have a successful stock stock trading business, I should say. What are you up to these days? What's going on now with you?
Yeah. So right now, I mentioned earlier stocks and sorors. So I am a member of a Black Greek letter sorority, which is Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And there are a lot of women who are in Black Greek sororities. And so right now, my primary focus is on helping these ladies to begin navigating in the markets. If I can tell a quick story, is that okay?
Sure, of course.
Okay. So for those who are not familiar with Black Greek letter organizations, there are 4 women organizations within what we call the National Pan-Hellenic Council. Wow. Well, the 4th organization that was founded back in 1922, their centennial year is this actual year. And so in reflecting on the fact that their centennial year is coming, which the organization's name is Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, I sat back and I thought about it and came to a realization that collectively, Black Greek letter organizations, female Greek letter organizations will have committed 400 years of service to both our communities here domestically as well as abroad. And I was just so blown away by just the thought of that. Like, wow, that's amazing. So then I began to think like, okay, we should use this time to commemorate that. Like, this is big, but at the same time, here comes the limiting beliefs. Like, okay, I'm not a president. I don't know what I could do and so forth and so forth. And so I decided that it would be helpful in my way to leverage my expertise by helping us all to use this moment in time to build the financial foundation for our families for the next 400 more. And so I thought about it like, okay, let me think, how can I do this? And so that's how Stocks and Sorors was born. And so was scared, held on to it for over a year. But then ultimately had a conversation with my chapter president of my sorority. And she said she thought it was a great idea. launched it last year in September, and now we have as of this recording, over 5,000 women are in this Facebook group, and I've taught thousands now stock market 101. So that's been the goal, and that's what my focus is right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. So do you have anything where you can offer our readers before we can point them to where they can find you in your book and your everything else you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a free stock market quick start guide on my website. So we'll love it if people are interested in understanding kind of the easy route, right, to get started. You can check it out at invest2give.com, invest2give.com. That's my website. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, I'm sure that'll be a very easy website to find. And the number 2 is the actual figure 2, not the word, not spelled in words.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
excellent. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, Laquore, it's been a great pleasure hearing your story, and I always like hearing you. I don't know whether to say rags to riches or poverty to where you got now. And I mean, there's plenty of stories like that. Some of the successful people you hear about got that way, but obviously from our, the Black community, even more so, it's better because of, what we obviously evidently saw during the coronavirus, last year especially. We're pushed down even more, with the privileges that are out there, and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, we don't want to go into politics. I've got a politics degree myself, so I'm inspired, and obviously being a woman as well, a Black woman. So you've done, really great, and I think this really is truly inspirational for our audience to listen to, really, from all walks of life. So I'd just like to say thanks a lot for coming on the show and sharing also with my audience today.
Thank you so much. The pleasure was all mine.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. Or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.